Thank you, Roddy, and thank you everyone in our studio audience for being here today. Boy, oh boy, do we have an exciting show for you. We are just moments away from seeing if our contestants can grasp those.
Battle Royale games are 10 a penny at the moment. Everyone and his dog wants a slice of Fortnite's cash-flavoured pie, so it comes as no surprise to see shameless clones popping up at a rapid pace. What did come as a surprise though was the sudden announcement and then release of Radical Height, a 1980s game show themed Battle Royale game from Boss Key. That's the studio behind the failed hero shooter Lawbreakers that was co-founded by Cliffy Gears of War Blazinski. So, is Radical Heights worth your time, or will you find it badically shite? Here are 11 things you need to know about Radical Heights. Radical Heights has been pushed out into the world after only 5 months worth of development time, and it shows. There's a great deal of jankiness running throughout the self-titled Extreme Early Access build, and one can assume that there's still a ton of future content missing. One of the most striking omissions so far is that currently there are no female avatars in the game, like none at all. On the character select screen it just has a coming soon sticker slapped over the Venus symbol, which basically writes its own jokes. For 50% of the world's population that's not going to be a huge problem, but if you prefer playing as a female, you might want to give this one a miss for now. Huh. I guess women are harder to animate after all.
How about that?
And now let's see what you've won.
One of the main plus points for Radical Heights is of course that it's a free-to-play game. That means even if you think its 80s inspired neon art style looks like a clown has vomited Sunny Delight all over your computer screen, you'll still be able to give it a quick go without putting a dent in your wallet. Obviously, Boss Key needs to make some money. I mean, how else are they going to keep Cliffy B in tissues and Lubriderm? So, to make ends meet, the game features plenty of microtransactions, but thankfully, that's only for cosmetic items. There's none of those naughty ones that affect gameplay. So, if you want to dress your character up in anything other than the standard spandex noob suit without grinding away for hours, you're going to need to use real-world money to buy something called Rad Gems. Sorry, but that is the single worst name for fake currency that I've ever heard. Anyway, various bundles of Rad Gems can be bought ranging from £3.99 for 500 all the way through to a whopping £78.99 for 10,000 of the damn things. Oh, and if for some reason you really hate money, you could always pick up the Radical Heights Founder Pack from the Steam store for only £11.39. For that low price, you'll be awarded 1,250 Rad Gems and over 20 exclusive cosmetic items. Radical? Meh. At the time of producing this video, Radical Heights is playable in solos mode only. The game did launch with the option to play in duos as well, but at the moment the queuing system for that is ultra buggy and I've not yet been able to test it. I'm sure that there'll be a fix for that pretty soon, but if you hate playing Battle Royale games on your own, you may want to hold out until that's been sorted. You'll be pleased to know that at some point Squads mode will also become available in Radical Heights, but so far there's no time frame on that addition. Games of Radical Heights start in pretty much the same way as other Battle Royale games. You're placed inside a holding zone for 60 seconds or so before being thrown into a last man standing fight to the death.
Hello, audience! Are you ready for another exciting round of America's #1 game show? Then let's get this thing started!
From then on, though, things get a little different, as Boss Key has done a few things to make Radical Heights stand out from the crowd. Firstly, there's no planes, parachutes, or gliders. You're just tossed into the world at a random location, and you start wherever you hit the ground. Hit being the operative word here. You literally just faceplant into the floor, break into a combat roll, and then start running. One thing you'll notice from looking at the map, though, is that each match has slightly different safe zones at the start. For the first 90 seconds, some squares on the map are highlighted in red. These are danger zones, and they'll deliver small amounts of damage if you land inside them. After that first 90 seconds is over, though, these zones will open up and new grid squares will lock down, first becoming yellow as a warning to get out of there sharpish, and then back to damage dealing red once the counter runs down to 0. These grid lockdowns are pretty unpredictable and can result in some pretty strange safe zone formations as the matches play out.
It's time for the Showcase Shootout!
Finally, if you're good enough to reach the final stages of a match, the Shootout Showcase will start. This behaves more like your traditional Battle Royale circle, pushing the remaining few players together until only one survives.
You're definitely not leaving empty-handed. Here's what you've won.
And yes, you're right, that is the song from Karate Kid. Die in Radical Heights, and you can then spectate your killer until he or she gets killed themselves. In the same way as Fortnite's spectator mode works, you'll then start spectating the killer who killed your killer until the only killer left is the killer that killed all the other killers. If you're just starting out with Radical Heights, watching a few matches through to the end like this is a great way to get your head around the level layout and learn some new tactics. If you haven't already noticed, the graphics in Radical Heights are a little bit rubbish. That's because a lot of the buildings and textures are mere placeholders, put there while the team gets round to modelling them properly. There are a few buildings in Radical Heights which have fully formed interiors, which include props and decorations, but there are just as many that are completely empty and covered in a beta texture only. In fact, the game world is so work in progress right now that you'll also bump into quite a few invisible walls as you explore, and especially when going off the beaten track, you can also risk getting completely stuck in the geometry.
Not today, you poser.
Weapons and armour also work differently in Radical Heights. You'll find them dotted around the game world as per normal, but you'll also be able to buy them from specific vending machines located in and around the game's many buildings. Weapons and armour come in 5 colours, with white ones being the worst and purple ones being the best. You will need a lot of cash to buy these things from the vendies though, but fear not, you'll only need in-game cash, not real-world monies. Cash can be found all over the place, either on the floor, in smashable cash registers, in prize boxes, or even in the form of lovely prizes like cassette players, games consoles, and holiday vouchers. The more cash you grab, the better the weapons and armour you can afford, but be careful not to blow your wad on useless crap. A percentage of the cash you finish each match with will be stored in your offshore bank account. This is pretty cool because in the matches that follow, you can then withdraw that cash from ATMs so you can buy bigger and better weapons without having to scavenge for them. Holding weapons and gadgets works slightly differently as well. In Radical Heights, you start each match with space to hold only one gun and one gadget. gadgets being things like decoys, trampolines, and supply drops.
Thank you for calling the supply line. We've been waiting for your call. Just hold.
You have the ability to hold up to 3 of each, but to hold extra guns, you'll need to find gun holsters, and to hold extra gear, you'll need to find backpacks. The simplest way to do this, other than stumbling across them in the game world, is to kill other players. Do that and they'll explode into a pile of cash, dropping their holsters, bags, and collected items onto the floor in the process. So even if you kill someone with no guns at all, you'll still earn yourself an extra couple of item slots, something which is very useful indeed.
Not too sure about that gravity. Whoa! Don't know how I did that.
Radical Heights is the first Battle Royale game in the world to feature BMX bikes. Now, this might sound like a cool idea, and in theory it is, but at the moment the bikes in Radical Heights are a little bit buggy, to say the least. The controls are very floaty and it's quite easy to unexpectedly end up facing in the wrong direction. So for now it's best to use them as a mode of transport to avoid fights rather than to speed you towards them.
Then let's get this thing started!
If you see any of these things lying around in the game world, make sure you grab them as quick as you can, because they will unlock that item in the cosmetics store, which will allow you to buy them for in-game cash. When you first start Radical Heights, the only way you can buy cosmetic items is through the purchase of rad gems. Ugh. So if you want to tart up your avatar without spending real-world cash, you'll need to schnaffle as many of these things as you can. Oh, and you'll also need to grind for a shitload of cash, because hoo boy does it cost a lot of money for a pale green vest.
Attention Radical Heights contestants, incoming prize packages for your enjoyment.
Finally, to keep up the game show style vibe, Radical Heights includes game show moments, which are randomly occurring ways to earn epic rewards. There are 4 types of moments, the most common of which being prize doors. These are small booths that you need to wait in front of for a certain amount of time before they open. To make things a little more risky, while you're waiting, a cheesy theme tune blares out, announcing your location to nearby contestants. Next up, there's cash zones, which you'll be able to spot on the map when they appear, and these are areas where it literally rains cash. Just find a safe spot somewhere in these areas and watch as your cash ticks upwards $50 at a time. The next moment is the bike race. You'll know when that's available because a starting line will appear on your heads-up display. Head to that point, jump on the special BMX and make your way to the finish line in order to earn a prize, which in this case is a super rare gold armor set. The final moment is called Spin the Wheel, and when that activates, multiple prize wheels will descend onto the play area. The first contestant who reaches one of these gets the chance to stop it spinning, in return for some really powerful weapons like the rocket launcher or the AUG. Of course, if you're feeling really sneaky, you don't need to do any of those things. Instead, you could just head over to their locations, wait until someone else activates them, and then murder those unlucky contestants for their loot. Jackpot! So there we go, that's the lowdown on Radical Heights. But is it any good? Well, it's hard to say right now. I did start getting into it after a couple of hours, but it is still very broken. I would say I enjoyed playing it more than I do H1Z1, but it still needs a lot of work if it's going to stand any chance of bothering Fortnite and PUBG. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, do give it a like, do subscribe, and do remember to stay radical. Goodbye.